Hi, this is an all-new media platform. It's the Asia and the world. It's about politics, sports, as you wish, whatever you want, we have it. We look for the truth, but nothing else, and we do support no political party nor any organization. So now let's start off the show. Before that, I want to hit the like button, subscribe to my show, and then now let's start off. And also important to find in the comment section, as you know, it's important. We need to know about your opinions, what agree with us or not. So now let's start the show. Now today we're going to talk about our premiere, talking about something very familiar to us, very familiar. That is all about Sri Lankan politics and about the current government, which is about can they win the election 5 years from now or not? It's a very hard topic because, as we all know how it all happened 5 years ago, the change of power wasn't certainly easy. So, to discuss this topic, I would rather not do this alone. I would rather need an expert for the job who knows what he's talking about, a person who's a veteran at the field of journalism and a true expertise at the job. My co-host, Damit Gunratna. As would you know, fellow Sri Lankans, you would know his grandfather for being known as Elmo Gunratna. You would know his grandfather, which you know. Significantly, you would know. And you would know his works from his golden era of journalism for his magnificent articles and tremendous success stories. Unlike many modern day journalists, he's not in the actual writing magazines, etc. But I can assure you, one of the finest journalists in the country is with me. Now let's start the show. Today we're going to start off by talking about the government. Let's start off the discussion, shall we? Let's discuss. Now, we always, before some history lessons, we know that Sri Lanka has had politics in their blood since the days of the kings and the queens, of the independence. Do you think that has changed anything now?
Definitely, yes. The pattern of elections and political system of this country changed dramatically and drastically. It's not for the better of the people. This is my view. This is my personal view. It's not the better for the people. This is better for politicians. This is what I'm always saying. Maybe this is not what they expected me to tell, but then this is this right thing. Yes.
As we start on. Now, let's turn on some facts. But there I must say, Sri Lanka had some strong points in the 1970s. As we know, in the 1970s, many countries around the world, as we all know, the United States, the Middle East, Europe was struggling with the Arab oil crisis. We know the Israel supporting process. But despite many countries going through poverty and war, Sri Lanka did stood firm in the 1970s. We had tremendous development, right?
Of course, yes. If you say 1970s, before that, 1940s, I can say, when B.S. Chennai was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, I always say only leader in this country who had a very good knowledge of
What was required?
people required in this country, and he started many development projects without any what do you call
Recognition.
no, any aid, foreign aid from other countries.
Yes.
He started. So, but later stages, the thing is that because of this power struggle between the politicians in this country, it's become the Sri Lanka has become like playground for politicians, like thing, and it has nothing to do with the people's welfare. And they just introduced various kind of constitutions, and now it's a mess. This is what I'm always says. It's a mess now. So we had, as a country, as a people in this country, we have to come out of this very soon. Very soon.
Right. I do agree. We are in a certain circumstance where things are not going really well, we've seen. But again, as we know, politics is it's like a coin, heads and tails. Now, I want to go to the 1970s because of a certain reason, because I came up with this point because I often look at countries around our neighbors, in Asia, how the process went through the development, the political arena. Thing is, in the 1970s, there was a major political shift. The constitution changed. Now we all know the constitution change had 3 benefits and 3 negatives. Now the benefits were, they were swifter and easier to get to development projects, where the Prime Minister Jaya Jayawardene was able to get them swiftly.
He was not the Prime Minister.
The President. Okay, apologize viewers for that. Now he was the President. Now he was able to implement those fairly quickly on the new constitution. But we also know because of the constitution, there were certain cracks were there, like the social, the society, the racial barriers, little bit more opened up. Because previously, as we all know, the constitution was far less, you know, far more open, despite the Bandaranaike single is only policy, which we know how we paid for it. End of the day, he got shot himself by the priest itself. So we are not going to go deeper than that. But this is the thing: there are benefits, there are cons. You think should we take the factors into account, the cons or the negatives, or both in the same time?
Well, um, before everything, I want to tell you something. 1956, when Bandaranaike introduced a certain kind of single-only policy and everything, this is the start of, I can say, the disaster started the country. Because he was a very selfish politician that ever made in Sri Lanka. This is what my opinion.
Absolutely.
This is my personal
No problem.
opinion.
No problem.
And he did everything to become the prime minister of this country. Nothing else. I'm not sure. Even the SLFP and that time 1956, the government members even know anything about what Bandaranaike is going to do this country. Nobody knew. But ultimately, this single-only policy and the private sector business they have taken over by the government. All these things are the chaos. This country has become a real, it's gone to a disaster. This is what I'm saying. It started in 1956, and after that, in 1970 again, this country was the economic policy was okay, but I'm not sure there was some kind of when the policy implementation they had some problems. It was like when it has taken over by the government or the private sector estates and all that, they had a lot of problems there. I can remember when I'm not very very young at that time. So after that, in 1977, JR came into power. JR Javadan came into power, and he introduced another constitution. It was I feel that it the people always think that when the food and clothes and everything is flowing to the country is the development. It's not the development. I'm always says we has to have introduced our own policies. This is nothing to do with Singapore or America or India. We need our own policies. So still we are struggling to get our own policies. This is what really is we are struggling now. Okay.
It's an interesting point, because end of the day there are a lot more than money and to create a society. The thing is, let me put it this question this way. In the 1970s, I know I'm going in the 70s because for me 70s is not the best era for me, because I'm also an automotive enthusiast. Trust me, it's a horrible decade, the emission standards and etc. Thing is, in the 1970s, the general world was in chaos. We're talking about the Manson cases, the murders in Hollywood. There was a sense of feeling in the 70s, the world wasn't knowing what to do. The culture of the 60s, let's say the people in the 1960s, the people in the 60s, about the social barriers, the cultural barriers. Then you came to the 70s, the same people that existed couldn't accept the social change.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to fight off.
Yeah.
But in Sri Lanka, the problem was never the change of society, because we always change. Our great history in this country shows we are miles ahead of everyone in history. Our problem was we were so much struggling to the time economically. Did people just forgot about the issue because people just cared so much about the food because they didn't have any food at all?
Yeah. But the thing is that the changes happen in the world. I'm not sure whether we had any problems in 70s that to change to a new system of the world. But then, yes, we had certain problems. But then anyway, we had all I think we came over all that problems, and we are doing okay. I can compare to other countries when it's come to India, when it's come to Bangladesh and all that. Yes, we are okay, because I feel that we have always the British education is there in this country. Because of that we are facing okay, I think, compared to other countries.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's get to the interesting one. This is where I really want to come in, because I want to get to the bond issue. This was a big topic that we have often talked about. People say that Arjun Mayandan was responsible, no problem, was responsible for the bonds and etc. But the thing is he the only person who did this thing in the first place? Is he?
No. This is where that everybody is misled by publicity, I can say,
Yes.
media, I can say, all these things together, that the one scam and every damn thing is, I can say, misled by the media, the people, misled by the people, the media. Actually, all these things started, I think, to my knowledge, 2008.
Yes, absolutely.
2008, that this first when Niwat Cabral, now the present Deputy Minister of Finance, I guess.
Wow, that is a major development.
Yeah, and he was central bank governor at that time,
Wow.
2008, and he started, and then again when 2015 the political change happened, and then suddenly the government didn't have any money to go ahead with the development, which is already started. So the people were struggling to get their dues from the government. But so I think at that time, then the Arjun Mahendan has did the same thing, but Niwat Cabral has did in 2008. So what I'm saying is, where it's wrong, why? I always think that Arjun Mahendan should have introduced a new method to this, because he was so intelligent person, according to then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and through all the other people, he was so intelligent person. He was very, I mean, I can say, well, very good at these finance problems. But then, why? Why he did the same thing? That's my problem. Why he did the same thing? How Niwat Cabral handled this finance situation? So this is where that I'm always I have a problem with that.
Yes, but this is the thing. Now we have to think this through. I agree totally. He should have thought a lot better, because he shouldn't have gone the same flow. Because then, this is an example, prime example. Just because a dog dies doesn't mean you run over the same thing again and again. That is wrong. You go aside with that. You respect it. But the thing is, when the last government came to power 5 years ago, country's true financial problems were so severe. He had no time. He had no time, no choice, but he had to do something. If it weren't, there was going to be a major problem nationally. Economy, the floated economy, I want to call it floated because I got a lot of experience among the high society, because I can tell you example, because we both have examples. I might example. The mid 2011s and 12s, many people who were not very wealthy suddenly became wealthy. And suddenly schools like Gateway started putting out canteens, expensive canteens, and suddenly. So it was a bloated up wealth. Technically, the poor man didn't have the money. What I'm coming down to this long complication point is, did Mahendra have any choice left? Because if he was going to go on the path of fixing a new system and all blah blah, would the worst case scenario of economic downturn happen?
No. This is the thing now. See, Arjun Mahendan was in this country in and out as deputy director or somewhere in central bank, and he worked in Singapore. And to my knowledge, most of these politicians in this country have met Arjun Mahendan in Singapore. They discuss about this country. This to my knowledge is.
Yes.
Say that he could have. I think he had some kind of a plan to this country to how to implement the financial thing. But then what happened? Why he just got stuck with the same issue, same way of handling the finance, right? Same thing, same way. But that is not right. This is what I say. Arjun Mahendan could have introduced a new system, because he was in this country. He was a citizen of this country. He was in and out of this country. He worked for central bank for a long time. But I'm not sure why he did the same thing.
Right. Let's now think about let's talk about, this is an important thing. This is very crucial, because there was this major question from people we are asking. No person with corruption was in prosecution for responsibilities. My opinion, which I wanted to correct me if I'm wrong, which I truly respect you for that, is that, is it always easy to ask questions of a politician? Because it's like this. You have a parliament chock full of accusations, and then suddenly a prime minister comes into power. He looks at a file and says, "Oh my goodness, that's this chunk of files." He's trying to go through one by one, but he always going to fall short, knowing the fact that sometimes maybe his even own members might be in. Is it his fault or for the culture of this country?
No, it's culture of the country.
Yes.
It is always there. When even in 1970s, in 1960s, always is there. So I'm not sure that he can change everything in a year or two. But I'm always says, even Ranil Vikram Singh had maybe, compared to other leaders in this country, he had some kind of what do you call it, some kind of idea or some kind of a plan to this country. But I'm not sure he didn't do anything. He couldn't do anything because I think the then Prime President of the country, Maithripala Sirisena, had some other ideas. So there was this the clash of ideas and clash of political views. Because of that, I don't think that he couldn't. That's the reason why he couldn't do anything. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Now, this is interesting. Now, Sri Lanka, post COVID-19 pandemic, has sort of started to get to a point where people are now starting to say, wonderful response, we have no million deaths like the United States, no million deaths. We are sort of having some sense of financial security, we are doing okay, unlike other countries where we go for welfare, etc. But this is the thing, how does the Sri Lankan economy recover post COVID-19? Because I feel like we are dragging this COVID-19 a little bit too long, and we are almost putting out these restrictions into a bit of too much of a level right now.
First of all, I must thank and I must have a very good what do you call it idea, and I'm going to thank President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and how he handled this military experience, experience that he handled this very well. And also I have to thank the health sector who handled this situation very well compared to other developed countries. So maybe because our country is compared to other countries very small and the population is on not that rather than other countries, but even after that we could have much more. We have much more what do you call it benefits like
Yes.
to the common people. The common people all got stuck in villages and the places where that
They can't come out.
They can't come out. So there is a problem here. But other than that, I think the government has handled the COVID problem very very good. I mean, I really
Admire.
admire it.
Right. But this is the thing. This is the issue. This is the thing. I want to go from COVID-19 pandemic because it's very easy to understand. The government's, one of the plus points the government had so far is the strong handlement of the disease. That's fantastic. But this is the thing. I am coming to the bitter part of this discussion. So, listening, I'm going to say for some people it's bitter, for some people it's good. I'm going to go far as that because we are open media platform for anyone. Anyone with open opinion, please fire us the comment section. Openly welcome. The thing is, when the last government came into power, 5 years ago, we thought that yes, they got a 5-year power band and everything is totally fine. But less than 2 years later, we had back then Prime Minister Ranil Vikram Singh getting booted out of his own prime ministerial job by the current Prime Minister. Now, which led to a constitutional crisis which this country didn't deserve to face. Even with the JR constitution, all that later, we have managed to stay strong. We managed to keep this political system in some kind of function. But this is my problem. That is the issue that led to this government change. That movement, that particular moment when he was booted out from his prime ministerial position, even though he came back, there was effect.
Exactly. Now, I said that this country I mean, 1956 there was a huge blood damage in this country by Bandaranaike. Like that, Maithripala Sirisena did a huge damage to this country because he was very what do you call it, ambitious. He wanted to become the
Leader of the
president
party.
second time, president of the second time this country,
Yeah.
leader of the party. He has his own personal agendas, to earn some, collect some money for their families and all that. So definitely he was going to
Wrong
another
track.
direction, different direction than Ranil Wickremesinghe. Ranil Wickremesinghe, of course, he has some mistakes. He did some bad decisions. He had taken some bad decisions. But other than that, compared to Maithripal, he had some other ideas to develop this country. But there was this clash because of Maithripal's personal agenda. It affected this country very badly.
Yes. Now, before we end this show, I want to finish this discussion with a straight answer from you. Can this government win in 5 years or not?
Well, the good question is that they will win because there's no powerful opposition in this country.
That was exactly my point I was
There's
coming
no
in.
powerful opposition in this country. I think the main reason is there is no ULP. United National Party is completely.
The results were
out of
dreadful. They were shocking.
And
They were horrible.
out of the scene political scene completely. And now these Sajid Premadasa, the party is hanging around, but
they need action. They need to do something.
Anything they are doing.
They have to sort of, I think, they have to sort of push the agenda.
Exactly.
If
But
they
nothing happening like
nothing
that.
happening. They are just sitting back, ducks like saying, please give us.
They
We
are
can-
also badly affected by COVID, I can see.
But it's not an
So-
excuse. Come on, people in the bus wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And look, the politicians get the best doctors and etc. Why should they shouldn't compare themselves for the poor? And for Pete's sake, his father was the former prime minister. He should know more about things than anything we know.
I feel, I'm not sure, but he's going to do, I don't know, I'm not sure. But then anyway, in future, I hope that we can, in future we can meet him and we'll see what he's going to do in the future. And also, of course, we should know, we have to know what the future leaders is going to do about this real situation in this country. For that, we must, you must introduce some new leaders to this country.
Yes.
That is
The next generation, the Gen Xers.
next generation, yes. So as a young person, I hope that you have some ideas about the future leaders
Yes,
of this
absolutely,
country.
there should be, because we are at the moment facing a cabinet where half the people could have a freaking heart attack right now because they're so old. I'm not saying they might, but there is a major chance. There is a major chance. So thank you. We had a major show today, and I think it's a great opening for the show. So thank you very much for joining on the show, and join us again because we have a very spicy topic coming up again. So thank you very much for joining the show. Thank you very much. So
Thank you very much for inviting for this very important discussion. But I hope that next episode that you are going to introduce new leaders to this country, and you are going to
Absolutely.
do that. So I hope
Absolutely.
that I can join next time also. Thank you very much for following me.
and we are.